Today on Locked On Red Wings, the line blender came out in full force in practice as Detroit prepares to face the New Jersey Devils.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for the daily JAWWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty's host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Scotty, happy Wednesday, buddy.
Happy Wednesday, man. I'm like slanted now, though.
Well, you gotta
I'm trying to
move your frame over, move your body over. That's
I'm like on a desk. Like, okay, it's like the camera is like point. You know what I mean?
Don't you have like a physical? Do you use your laptop's webcam, or do you have like a separate webcam?
No, I have like a separate one. Oh,
yeah, you can just tilt it.
Okay. You're right.
Jesus Christ. See, this is why you have me. You know, I use that college degree for a good purpose, and that's to educate you, to angle your webcam.
The two of us, we have one of those. So, okay.
And maybe one whole brain cell.
Okay. This is a disaster and a train wreck, and I don't like it.
You got to get used to moving your body around in the frame, dude.
Yeah, we're going to deal with that later. There.
He just wanted to show off the fact that he has banners up.
Well, just the Wings one. Like, I feel like it, like the Tigers show, because it's just me, you can see all four of them. But because we're like cut, we've spent way too much time talking about this. But like because it's cut, I don't want it. It's just weird to only have the Stones and the Tigers. Like, I feel like
I have a solution for you.
Move it.
Just take the Pistons banner down and move them all over.
Okay. I feel like a lot of people are going to agree with that. 2-13, not great, Bob.
Yeah, 12 straight losses. The Denver Nuggets didn't have Jokic in that. So,
or the head coach.
So, and still found a way to look. KCP, Reggie Jackson revenge game. Great feeling.
Awesome. Let's talk hockey, though.
Let's talk hockey.
Actually doing, the Wings are...
haven't lost 12 straight. Actually win occasionally.
Well, they may be struggling. They are not the Detroit Pistons. Who also does a great job at Locked On Pistons, so be sure to check.
And I'm very sympathetic to his cause,
yes.
Because that's got to be a rough time. We have a big pity party over here when the Red Wings are 3-5-3 in the last 11. At least they've won games in the last 11.
Been there through like a lot of the thick of the rebuild too.
So anyways, today's episode, guys, we're going to talk obviously in the second half about the line blender that came out in practice. Jake Woolman, Alex Lyon updates. You can see that in the show sheet to the right of the screen here, as well as just preview the New Jersey Devils game that is happening on Wednesday as well tonight by the time you guys are listening to this. But first, I want to lead off with something that's actually a few days old, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. It's like 5 days old at this point. Kevin Weeks came out and he reported that the NHL site visit to the Shoe, the Ohio State Stadium, and that they are considering it as a potential destination for a Red Wings Blue Jackets outdoor game featuring a Michigan and Ohio State theme. And really, that's all there is to the news right now. But it's a fun hypothetical to kind of go over. One, the Red Wings haven't been part of an outdoor game since 2016. And I'm not trying to say like that's so long, because there's still a lot of teams that haven't even been in an outdoor game. I think the Blue Jackets' last outdoor game was the Winter Classic against the Penguins in like 2009 or something like that. But it's an interesting concept because obviously on the surface, that's a great idea, in my opinion, because of obviously the games happening on Saturday, and Michigan and Ohio State are huge rivals. But does it translate to the ice well is what I'm wondering about. The Blue Jackets
translate to the ice,
like that theme, because the Red Wings theme? Well, it's an Ohio State Michigan theme is what.
Yeah, the rivalry will not. No.
Yeah. Because there's no rivalry between the Blue Jackets and the Red Wings.
These guys are from Europe, dog. They don't care. like Lucas Raymond from Sweden gives half of anything about like Ohio State, Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like it absolutely won't translate to the ice. But that being said, I think most people are in agreement that like the vibe and the atmosphere and the environment of an outdoor hockey game is just so like I don't know, genuine. Like it's just so, you know what I mean? Like it just feels like this is hockey. Like I don't know, like it's weird, but like at a very simple level, I think a lot of people just like outdoor games. So I'm for it. It's not going to translate to any rivalry of any magnitude at all. Like these, you know, like the Wings don't like hate the Columbus Blue Jackets or their fans. Like I don't think at least the Blue Jackets hate like the Red Wings fans. Obviously the OSU Michigan thing is very real, but like the players don't like care about it. I don't think the fans will care about it, but any opportunity to play outdoor hockey in a historic venue, as much as I dislike them, you know, we'll take.
Well, that's literally, I pointed at my pen. I was going to say, but, and then you said, but, and said exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, the Blue Jackets Red Wings have no inkling of a rivalry. They've only met one time in the playoffs since the Blue Jackets became a team in 1999. I think it was. I'm not quite sure. I'm not the host of Locked On Blue Jackets. Jay Forster also does a fantastic job. Go listen to him.
Fantastic.
But it's any opportunity, like you said, to do an outdoor game, a banger. I love outdoor games. They've already had, obviously, the Maple Leafs Red Wings game in 2014, the last Winter Classic the Red Wings were a part of. That was at the Big House. That was a banger because there's actually an established rivalry there. Plus, they were both wearing home colors. Just the red and blue.
2000, by the way. You were a year off.
Oof, I was so close.
Yeah, that was, I think there was like a sprinkle of like expansions throughout that kind of like era. So,
but I think the idea of going to the shoe for an outdoor game would be really cool. I like the idea of making an NCAA themed. It won't translate on the ice to the players because they don't care, except for maybe like Dylan Larkin, who's like Michigan.
I guess Lark, that'll be a big storyline. All the beat writers will have easy questions that week, right? They'll just be able to take the layup and be able to, you know, like Boltman will have a great week. He'll be able to just get all the quotes he wants about Larkin hating on the shoe, but like even that, like he's just gonna like talk smack about the venue. Like he's not gonna talk smack about the team he's playing. Like, you know what I mean? Like no one's like, oh, I hate Ohio State, so I hate the Blue Jackets. Like no one's ever said that, you know?
But the funny thing too is considering, like, look at the Columbus Blue Jackets roster. There's more Wolverines on that roster than there is on the Red Wings roster.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. Is like just hockey in general. Like there's way more Wolverines than most schools.
And I'm not knocking it. Like, don't take this the wrong way. It's interesting that I get it for the Blue Jackets perspective because that's where Columbus Blue Jackets, Ohio State's Columbus, Ohio, but the Red Wings aren't in Ann Arbor. They're in Detroit. So like there's a little bit of a disconnect there, but also what would the uniforms look like?
Okay. Like if for like people that are Lions fans and Ohio State fans, it's not a very common breed, but like there are some, right?
So the Taylor Deckers of the world,
right? Like like people, like when Aiden Hutchinson gets a strip stack touchdown for a win or a safety for a win, the OSU Lions fans are like, like you know, like that leaves when you graduate. Not all the time, obviously. There are some like there's several Buckeyes that like I. You know, even once they turned pro, like I wasn't too fond of. Like I'm not trying to make it sound like it's nothing, but like even more so, the disconnect there. Like it's also, I don't know. I feel like we've spent way too much time talking about like, will there be a connection? Like this is cool, and like I'm down. Yeah. Like I'm not trying to knock it like any more than I have to. I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm like anti this. It's just theming it like that specifically is just weird because like the players and fans, I don't think will really care about that aspect of it.
I think you summed it up really nicely there. It's like I'm always down for an outdoor game. I think the theme is a bit of a stretch.
That's a good way to put it. It's a stretch.
But what would the uniforms look like? Because think about it too. Like what are the Ohio State colors? It's technically silver and scarlet, right? And the Red Wings wear red and white. The Blue Jackets wear primarily blue. I know there's red and white accents in there as well, but they wear primarily blue. And what is the Michigan colors? Maize and blue. So is there going to be a color swap for the team uniforms for that outdoor game to represent if it's an NCAA theme, the colleges in their respective state? Or is it going to be like Columbus repping Michigan colors? Like, what is it going to look like?
I have no clue what to tell you.
I thought that was interesting to throw out there. Again, like you said, It's never going to knock an outdoor game. The theme's a bit of a stretch, but if it happens, I'm going to be super pumped because outdoor games rock.
Sure. I'm about it.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the practice, the forward lines getting absolutely blended in practice. It's really interesting. And then we'll preview the game against the Devils, kind of roll right into that as well. But first, I got to talk to you guys today about this transition.
Wow.
And now I'll talk to you guys today about Sleeper. Almost forgot to do that transition. Still getting that in the muscle memory. A new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Alex DeBrincat could score 50 goals from line 2. A little bit of a teaser for that segment too, guys. The Red Wings could hoist the Stanley Cup, and you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app for the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. To win, or all you have to do is pick weather studs like McDavid, Ovechkin, Crosby, McKinnon, Makar. You go down the list. Jack Hughes, Luke Hughes, Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson will record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in any given game. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Red Wings fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Also got to talk to you guys today about FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets and with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. This app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. If I were you, I'd bet the Lions to win the Super Bowl 8-2 right now. Second best record in the NFL. Could have been tied for first if the Chiefs had taken care of business.
You just said that.
I'm just saying.
You just said that out loud.
So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. I got the segment right that time, Scotty. Not like yesterday, but we ball.
Let's throw a parade
down Woodward to celebrate the Lions Super Bowl victory. Anyways, I'm riding the hype train, man. First time they're 8-2 since 1962.
There's a difference between riding the hype train and jinxing an impossibility. All right, let's calm down.
Well, first of all, if it's an impossibility, how could I jinx it?
Shut up.
Hashtag hush mode. Anyways.
Ridiculous.
The forward lines at practice today were absolutely jumbled. Wow. Scotty, have you seen them?
Yeah.
I think I sent them to you, right?
We talked about it earlier today.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I can't remember. I talk to so many people because I'm so popular every single day.
So true.
Don't just let me run with that. They've split up the top and second lines. And I mean, they've blended the whole line, all 4 lines on the offense all together. They're rolling 11-7 tomorrow, but the lines at practice were as such. Veleno, Larkin, Raymond. So Veleno moves up to the wing on the top line. DeBrincat moves down to the wing on the second line next to Comfer and Rasmussen, as now Copp and Comfer are broken up as Copp slides down to the third line between Fabry and Perron, making Fisher the center between Klim Kostin and Daniel Sprong. The rest of the all the defensive pairs are pretty cookie cutter. Wallman Sider, as he's going to play, thank goodness, avoiding better than the worst case. I mean, in all reality, he's not even day-to-day. He's playing. Sherratt and Petrie, please end me now. And Gostisbehere, Hall, and Mata were rotating as the third pair. I don't know what the obsession is with Sherratt and Petrie together. I don't get it. We're not going to talk about that. We're talking about those forward lines, Scotty. And, I mean, those first 3 were honestly kind of shocking. I guess we'll start at the top line. Like, what are your thoughts about Joe Veleno being top line?
It's been a heck of a journey for Joey V this year, man. As a guy that before opening night, you and I were like, hey, this is probably like maybe the most meaningful year of any forward on here. Like this guy needs to take a huge step forward or else he's not going to be a part of the future plans of the team. And now he's practicing on the top line. Like, I mean, good for him. Like seriously, good for him for turning that around and having a hot start to the year. Obviously, the production slowed down a little bit, but like he looks good most nights, regardless of whether he's getting on the stat sheet or not. I don't hate it. I feel like the move of DeBrincat down to the second line gives me flashbacks to when they moved Burt down, and it was like
you were worried, and then he produced.
No, not even that. Like I feel like it's more of a move for the sake of the second line than it is for like an indication of DeBrincat. Like, does that make sense? Like when they moved Burt down, right? It was at first everybody freaked out, and then they were like, the coaching staff came out and was like, no, we're just like trying to get anybody besides the top line to be able to score goals. Like,
yeah, that was the Fabry, Suter, Bertuzzi, the Guelph Storm line, right?
It was the Guelph line, yeah. And so like they're like, no, we're just trying to get like any production outside of the top line, dog, and like that worked, and right, and the Guelph line obviously was pretty solid, and so I feel like that's kind of like the impression I get somewhat of like, DeBrincat obviously isn't off to as hot of a start as he was the first week of the season, but I almost feel like it's more of just like, okay, like Comfort's been better, but like the Comfort Copp line hasn't been great. Rasmussen hasn't really produced this year, and he's the other guy on the other side. Like I feel like it's more of a okay, let's try and spread the scoring around a little bit and still get someone who's having a good year up on line one in Veleno than it is like, oh, DeBrincat got demoted or anything.
Yeah, I mean things aren't great right now, right? Like with how this team
glad they're trying something.
Exactly. That's essentially what is happening. This team has not scored. Hold on. I was about to say something wildly inaccurate. This team's 5-3 in the last 11. And while the scoring isn't not there, it's not as consistent as we'd probably still see. I would prefer to see the defensive pairs a little bit jumbled rather than getting the same old vanilla crap that we've been getting out of that. But the forward lines needed it too. And at this point, having only 3 wins in your last 11 games, I'm up for trying anything. Dylan Larkin hasn't registered, I think, a point in his last 5 games, at least scored a goal. That could be inaccurate. I know he hasn't scored a single goal in his last 5 games, but I don't know about the point aspect of that. But, Raymond finally is getting hot after the series in Sweden. DeBrincat does have 2 goals in his last 3 games, but it has been quiet outside of that. So I get wanting to kind of mix that up. And like you said, I think there's a little bit of truth both ways with the DeBrincat situation, where I think they're putting him down on the second line, one, to offer the second line a scoring punch that it didn't have, but then also maybe trying to send a message to DeBrincat that like you got to be a little bit more consistent, because you can't score 10 goals in your first 5 and then not score any for the next 10 until like the last 2 games or whatever it's been. But maybe it's a little bit of both, adding that scoring punch, because also, I mean, as much as we've been seeing the praises of Comfort and Copp defensively, I mean, they haven't provided a lot offensively together either. And in some games against impressive opponents, they've looked a little overmatched. I mean, I'm not even going to say I'm a Comfort defender. I think Comfort's looked pretty dang good. I would say that's more of a statement about Copp than Comfort, which is why he slides down the line 3. Mm-hmm. But Joe Veleno, I mean, that's the most shocking part of this all. And maybe, I don't know if this is him earning the chance or them just not having really any other good options. Because like you said, Rasmussen hasn't really looked good. Perron has looked slow. Maybe Sprong is the only other option you could do, and you slide him on line 4. But Joe Veleno, he's busted ass, right? Like he is busted ass this season. And you know what? And I will say this, he probably is the second fastest skater in your forward core right now. He flies. It's such an underrated part of his game. But he's looked fast. He's had pretty good hands. He's played good defensively. I see him in the corners, in the defensive zone, digging pucks out of the net. He's playing high slot to help the defenseman out. He's doing everything. So he's definitely earned that spot. And like you said, what a roller coaster from being what we would consider the 13th forward in a lot of scenarios to being on the top line wing. Just great for Joe Veleno. Absolutely love to see that. And honestly, when it comes to the rest of the lines, it's shocking But with how this team's been playing, I'm willing to give it a shot. I really am. That's just what it comes down to. And ultimately, also, we know that Derek Lones also said they are going to run 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. So one of these forwards is going to sit in this game tomorrow. We don't know which one. Probably Clean Costin, I would imagine. Or I don't think it's going to be Christian Fischer because I think he's been pretty solid. I feel like it's going to be Clean Costin.
Yeah, I don't think it's Fischer either.
But ultimately, these practice lines could be completely bunk anyways, right? Like this is a practice on Tuesday. They practice again today on Wednesday, and they could go back to normal. They could just be experimenting to see if there's anything there. But it is interesting to see that they get the blender out that severe in November.
Right. Yeah. No. And I think you summarized it pretty well there. Like who knows which of these is going to work? I mean, Perron, Copp, Fabry is certainly an interesting line. Could produce not a lot of speed there, but like, who knows?
Well, that's a good
Rasmussen moving up to line 2, given like the season he's had is again interesting, but like you could put a big body on that line, like with DeBrincat, right? I mean, that could lead to something, right? You got a big body in front of the net, and DeBrincat kind of, maybe a little bit further out. That could be some offense there. Like, I mean, I'm down. Like, I'm down. Like, that's really what it comes down to. Is this offense is clearly like stifling and has not been producing, and they need to figure out something to change and work. So like I'm about it. I have no gripes with the blender. But I'm not exactly oozing with confidence in like anything right now, I guess is my point.
No, but you bring up a good point too, right? Like you look at that second line and DeBrincat brings a scoring touch. Comfort's a two-way forward that is a good playmaker. Rasmussen's the guy who can get into the corners and in front of the net. So like there you can see how chemistry could form there. Also Rasmussen taking him out of center winger where he's I mean, I was beating the drum that he, don't a couple years ago that don't give up on Rasmussen as center. I think it's time to give up on Rasmussen as center. He's a better winger than he is center. So getting him out of that 4C role and onto the wing, he hopefully will play a little better. That third line, again, Copp, defensive-minded playmaker. Fabry and Perron are both scorers. Copp can play defense. Fabry and Perron, not so much. You hope that Copp can maybe recover for their lack of defense. But so like you can see the idea there. Like you see it. But whether or not that'll be what we see in the game is left to be determined. But nonetheless, really interesting practice lines on Tuesday.
Very.
So we're going to take another quick break. And when we return, we're going to preview this game against the New Jersey Devils, who don't look now, just 500 on the season. Shocking, honestly. So we'll preview that. Stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings.
Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. This time of year can be hard on a lot of people. It can be a lot. It's natural to feel some sadness or anxiety about it, but adding something new and positive to your life can counteract some of those feelings. Therapy can be a bright spot amid all of the stress and change in your life, and something to look forward to make you feel grounded and give you the tools to manage everything that is going on. I'm very open about it. I talk about it all the time. I've been going to therapy for 4.5 years now, almost 5 years now, close to weekly, as close as I can to weekly. And it's been a big thing in my life for years now. I recommend it to everybody. And there are companies out there like BetterHelp that give you some resources to make the most out of your experience with therapy. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to fit your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. I cannot sing the praises of that feature, I guess we'll call it, enough. That's something that's so important in therapy, is finding the right person that you're comfortable talking to, etc. And the fact that you can kind of jump around until you find someone that you like for no extra charge is a really, really cool thing to me. So find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNHL and get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNHL.
Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are going to transition now into previewing the game against the New Jersey Devils. And I think the first things we should mention, and we touched on it in segment 2, but obviously Jake Wallman healthy, huge for the Red Wings, as you honestly, outside that top pair, it gets real shaky real fast. And if you lose half that top pair, I don't know what you're supposed to do. Call up Simon Edvinsson. That's what you're supposed to do. You should do that anyways, honestly, though. Alex Lyon, we talked about it yesterday. I said that even if Husso is ready to come back, none of your goalies are really earning the starting role. So if Alex Lyon, having played that game against the Toronto Maple Leafs pretty solidly, give him another shot, and they are. Ville Husso not back yet, though, from what I understand, which is probably the primary reason. But good for Lyon after not playing for over a month, finally getting 2 starts.
Yeah, I'm pumped about it too. Let's go. Like like I said, I don't expect this dude to like take over and be, like a starting high-end caliber goaltender. I don't think anybody really has those expectations, but you got 3 goalies on your roster. It's about darn time we start using them. So yeah, I'm down.
As far as the Devils go, Scotty, they are 6th in the Metropolitan Division right now. A tight race, so a couple wins here or there will get them right back into it. They are 8-7-1, so above 500 point percentage technically still, with that 1 loser point they got in their back pocket. But overall record, if you just split it to straight down the middle, win losses, 8 wins, 8 losses, one of which being in overtime. But it's kind of weird. And I think not knowing an in-depth knowledge of the New Jersey Devils, I would have to imagine a lot of that has to come down to shaky goaltending. Because their 2 goalies, Vitek Vanacek has an 8.89 save percentage, and Akira Schmid has a save percentage of 8.85. That's a 12-game and 6-game split between the 2 of them, a solid backup starter split between the 2, and their save percentages are both well below 900. That is the reason why I say that is probably the primary reason why they struggle, is because offensively, they are a stud fest. Jesper Bratt, 23 points in 16 games played. He is absolutely exploding out of the gate this year. Jack Hughes, only 11 games played, but 22 points, 2 points per game. He just came back from injury yesterday or the day before. And so he's finally healthy again. Oh boy, good for us. We get to face Jack Hughes again. Remember, he put 2 goals on the Red Wings last time he played. Literally turned the tides of that game. Going down the roster, Tyler Toffoli's a point per game. Dougie Hamilton's 14 with 16. I mean, they are such an incredibly deep team points-wise and defensively, too, that the only reason I can imagine why they have 8 losses on the season is because their goaltending is so suspect. Sound familiar?
Sounds familiar with a few teams, not just one. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, this is still a high-powered offense. When we were talking about them going into the year, I think there were some people that were kind of like scattered about them, right? Like some people expected them to go back down to earth a little bit after like exceeding expectations so dramatically last year. But they have a lot of talent, dog. They have a lot of talent, and that talent isn't going anywhere anytime soon either. So I still think the ship gets, righted and whatnot. And it's a very, very close division, obviously, as you said. But yeah, man, like, this is still a really good roster. But you have an opportunity to take advantage of a really good roster that is skidding. Like take advantage. Take advantage of a team that's not playing up to their best ability, just like they're saying about you, probably over in their locker room or on Locked On Devils. So like this is an opportunity to take advantage here.
Yeah, so it's really interesting when you break down their advanced numbers, right? So this isn't an advanced number. I'll lead off with this, but they're number 1 in the league in power play. They have the top power play in the league right now. Again, offensively, this team has all the tools. They are such an incredibly young and talented team that they're probably going to run the league for a few years once they get fully healthy, because Nico Hischier and Timo Meier are out. Although Timo Meier is a negative, a -12 right now. And I know we don't put too much stock in plus minus, but it gets to sometimes when your plus minus is so well above or below the rest of the team's average, you know that player's doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the Timo Meier situation right now. But he's injured right now. And I thought when I saw the record, I was like, oh, maybe they just have a really bad defense. But no, I mean, they're second in the league in Corsi against, fewest Corsi against, only having allowed 656 even strength attempts against, while also generating I believe here, if I can find them, it always comes to this, they're the 17th most in Corsi 4. So shot attempts 4 at 5-on-5. They're right in the middle of the pack, which gives them an overall of 5th in the league. So they're better at shot suppression than they are at actual shot attempts, despite the fact that on top of the fact that they score a ton of goals anyways. So it's not the defense. It's not the offense. It's got to be the goaltending and the 20th ranked penalty kill they have. So those are the only two reasons why I can think this New Jersey Devils team is 8-7-1 right now and not top of the Metropolitan Division.
Yeah. Yeah, no, man. Well, that and just, there's some, how do I word this? I feel like there is some maybe night to night inconsistency as well. Like averages are great, but when it's, a lot in one game, and then I think we said something similar about Matthew's season so far this year too, where like you got a decent amount of goals, but everything seems to be a hat trick or nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like that. I think there's some inconsistencies there going on as well. But yeah, just like looking at their last, pick a number, 5 games going into this game. Okay, 5-3 loss in New York, 5-2 win against Pittsburgh, 6-3 loss against Winnipeg, 4-2 loss against Washington, and 6-3 loss against the Avalanche. So they're 1-4 in their last 5 and have given up 4, 5, or 6 goals in 4 of their last 5. So,
yeah, despite the fact that they don't allow a lot of shot attempts per game.
And despite the fact that their goals for in that span is not awful. Like, it's not great, but like 3-5, 3-2-3. Like, it's not a bad, like, it's not a horrible offense, man. But
3-5, 3-4, 3. Yeah, I mean, this is what it screams to me is I'm looking at their goals allowed, and goaltending clearly must be an issue because for them to have, their top 10 in expected goals for percentage, top 10 in high danger chances for percentage, top 10 in Fenwick percentage, and top 10 in Corsi for percentage. All stats, if you're in the top 10 at 5-on-5 in any of those, you're doing pretty good. And they're top 5 in all of those. Top 10, rather, in all of those.
Team save percentage is 30th in the NHL, and it's 873.
And that right there is the reason why.
The Wings are 19th and are 888.
They have a less than stellar penalty kill and not a good goalie situation. So you talk about keys to the game, Scotty. 1, shoot the puck, apparently.
Puck's on net, baby.
Puck's on net.
Puck's on net, and let's go in some hockey games.
I'm writing this down. Key number 1, puck's on net. I'm being that all completely literal. I mean, what else? What do we got? Our second key of the game.
I think it should be pucks deep, pucks on net, win hockey games.
Steal, snipe, Selly.
Yeah, right. Snipe, Selly. I do. I mean, seriously, just get pucks on net. Though is a good one. I think penalty kill is a huge one. Again, it's the best power play in the NHL. So don't have those poorly timed penalties that we've been getting so often.
Yeah, I want to say limit penalties.
And when you're on when you do, inevitably go on the penalty kill at some point, that's going to be a big key to the game because this is a team that absolutely you can outplay 5-on-5 and can still beat you just with their power play.
Yeah, so we're looking right now keys of the game. Key number 1, pucks on net, and we mean that literally because they have a team save percentage that we said was 30th in the league.
30th, yeah.
This number 2, where the Red Wings rank? You know what? I don't want to know.
19th at 888.
I'm shocked. Well, man, 19th is 888.
Goaltending's just down, yeah.
Number 2, limit penalties. And number 3, score on the power play.
Nice.
I mean, they have the 20th ranked penalty kill in the league, and you're still technically 15th on the power play, despite the fact that you haven't, because you're carried by that 5-game win streak at this point.
Heck yeah.
Anyways, that's the keys of the game. Scotty, you got anything else that's worth noting about the New Jersey Devils?
Yeah, one more thing. We ball.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. I guess I'll give you a heads up now, guys. We probably aren't recording on Thursday. So that means we won't do a game preview for the Friday episode of the Friday game against the Boston Bruins. So we'll probably preview that game after the recap in tomorrow's recording, if that makes sense, because we're not going to record on Thanksgiving.
Word.
We'll repeat that again tomorrow when you guys care. So stay tuned. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.